the X2Cam. Welcome back to the second channel video. Today I'm in St Pancras International, which if you are curious is one of the only real international rail stations in the UK, home of the only real international rail service on mainland Great Britain. So why is that the case? Why is it that if you're in London you can only really directly go to Paris or Brussels and some places in between? Why can't you go anywhere on the continent? Because when I first heard about the Eurostar and the fact that we had built an underground tunnel, which only finished somewhat recently, I was like, oh wow, so you know, that means you can catch a train to Poland or to Germany or to anywhere like that. But that's not the way it works at all. And even with on the continent itself, if you want to go from Poland to Spain, let's say, you need to make a lot of changes. There's no direct rail route, it's horribly inefficient, and realistically, you fly instead. So today I figured I'd explain why international rail is just a thing that hasn't caught on, and perhaps might not ever catch on, and all the reasons why it's a bad idea. So hopefully you do all enjoy today's video. Let's get straight into it. So this is like a really niche topic, because again, when I first heard about the idea, I was like, oh, so that's a thing that's totally going to be the case, but there's so many hurdles to overcome to kind of have international rail service, and the first one is wanting to do it in the first place, because you need to get two governments that are like, yeah, let's both, you know, build rail up to the edge of our borders and then have it so that trains can run in between them. You've got to imagine all the layers of international diplomacy that happen there. In the EU, it's pretty much easier because, oh yeah, we're all kind of friends anyway and we're not going to war. But bear in mind that the whole kind of war thing is one of the issues that actually saved the UK. When the Channel Tunnel was first being built over 200 years ago now, or somewhere in 200 years ago now, basically one of the things that shut it down, like the government said, no, if the French invade we'll be screwed, and that actually came true. In World War II, France was occupied, and if there was a Channel Tunnel, perhaps that war might have gone differently. So first of all, you're going to have the, like, both countries need to be like, yeah, we're going to be friends for long enough for this to be worthwhile. They need to want to do it, so their governments both need to be on the side of rail, which means the people need to be on the side of rail, and then they need to put in the money to actually build the track, because an international rail line is it's a lot of track and stuff. Then, once you've decided, okay, we're going to be friends for the foreseeable future, we're okay investing money, because most rail services make a loss, therefore need to be subsidised, therefore the people are on board with it. Then you've got to be like, okay then, well, how are we going to do this? Are you going to run the services? Am I going to run the services? Am I going to subsidise those services? Are we going to both do it? If it makes a profit, who makes the profit? You know, where does it go? Where does it stop and stuff? And you're like, okay, we arrange all of that. You know, London to Paris, London to Cologne, or London to Berlin, you know, etc. You're like, yeah, we'll agree, we'll just do those things. Then you've got to like even out all the differences in the track. So bear in mind, every country in Europe has a pretty significant rail network, but they're all designed pretty differently. And the reason they're designed differently is kind of this back to this like whole, Europe was kind of at war for the longest time, which meant that most countries wanted a different rail standard so that you couldn't go into their country with your trains and drive on their tracks. So for instance, the British system, excluding that train you see behind me, will use a particular rail type, the very first one invented. It's called something like standard gauge, like the most common rail type at the time, but everywhere in Europe has upgraded to some wider standard. But a lot of countries also decide to use another one. So Ireland, entirely different rail standard. Some places in the Far Eastern Europe, entirely different rail standard, which means you can't even use the same trains on those lines. So you have to be like, okay, we're going to decide one standard and it's going to work for everyone. But that one standard is going to favour one country, so you can't even just be like, oh, we'll use this standard that works there. You've got to kind of come to a compromise that makes both people happy, which it's not going to do, because one of you are going to get to run your existing trains. One of you, like the Eurostar right here, is going to have to build brand new trains, because this entire line this was built on, which cost some ridiculous number of billions, has been built so that these trains will not work on any other line in the UK, which, as you can imagine, probably makes some people sound sore. Then, once you've said, okay, so we've decided on the width of the rail and whatnot, okay, we've got all these things down, we're friends, you know, we're friends for the foreseeable future, we are, you know, we're not going to go to war, we've decided on the standards, we've decided who's going to pay for it, everyone's on board with the idea, everyone wants this, you know, very expensive rail project between the two countries. Then, there's all the other, you know, weird intricacies of having different countries. So first of all, the passport check thing. So this is a big issue mainly of the UK, but other European countries aren't necessarily in the Schengen area. If you're going from Germany to Belgium, you just hop on and off the train. It was pretty cool actually. But if you're going from any country within the Schengen area, which is most of Europe but not all of it, to anywhere outside of it, you're going to have passport checks, which makes it a bit more like an airport. Like realistically, trying to get on that Eurostar train is like going through a plane, and then at that point, who's going to want it? So you go past all of that and you're like, okay, we worked out a good system. But then the final issues are the electrification, the way they get electricity to trains varies from country to country, so you'll get that standardized. There's the signaling, and then you go for all that effort and you realize, wait a minute, planes exist. We can do this without any of the security concerns. We can do this without having to go through all these technical nightmares. No investment besides building an airport, which you need anyway. Every country has airports, and you can just fly there directly. Okay, we'll actually do that. So yeah, why does international rail not really exist in most countries around the world? Well, because you have to agree on so much, you have to be friends, then you have to invest a lot of money to do something that's done faster, you could argue better, by air travel, and that's why most of Europe is not directly connected by rail. It is one of the better places on Earth in terms of, like, if you want to, you could travel across Europe by train, but it's going to take you hours upon hours of changes. You're going to need to go on multiple different trains, and realistically, you're going to catch a flight. So that is why international rail doesn't really work in Europe. That is why it's only a very few special niche routes, and it's incredibly expensive, more so than air travel, and it's mainly designed for business people who want to be working all the way along. That's what the Eurostar design's for. It costs significantly more than any airfare, but you don't have to check in at an airport, do any of that stuff. You just go through the business line, sit down at your table, and you're working again. That's really the whole point of it, and that's a very niche category that isn't going to catch on. So if you, for some reason you are, because I know whenever I speak to Americans, they're like, you know what I really like? I want to have the dream where you go ride the Harry Potter train from, you know, this place to that place. Unfortunately, it's a dream that's going to have to remain a dream for some time, and there's all my findings on why international rail won't exist, which is a bummer, because I'd love to just be like, I'm going to hop on a train to Germany, but especially in the UK, given that there is that one magic tunnel under the sea, that's not a thing that you can really do. Anyway, there's been some people just over there that have, like, been seeing me this whole time, and I've already been like, did you come up here just to make a video about trains or something? And I guess I technically did, so I hope you all enjoyed this, because I'm going to enjoy my day doing some random stuff around London again. It just so happened that I came past the station, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give you some words about what I've been thinking about. So yeah, I don't know, catch a flight somewhere, because you won't be able to catch a train or something. I don't know if there's a moral from this, if there's something to be learned, like, maybe we should all just... No, there's nothing. Hope you all enjoyed it. The second channel, don't care. Goodbye.